Several families step back in time at Rockford's Burpee Museum of Natural History for Holocene Holiday, a hands-on event focused on what life looked like at the end of the Ice Age. WIFR's Miriam Niesmeyer shows us how visitors learned about the past and why organizers say this period of time plays an important role today.
You know, there's so much more to learn than just what we see outside of the cornfields and the bean fields.
Around a dozen families filled the Burpee Museum of Natural History in Rockford on Saturday for its Holocene Holiday.
It's really fun being here, walking around, seeing all the dinosaurs.
An event focused on life during the Ice Age and how it connects to the world today.
End of the Pleistocene, beginning of the Holocene, which is the period of geological time we are currently in.
Through interactive stations, visitors learned about how glaciers carved Illinois and how some animal species from this time period are thriving today.
Dire wolves originated in the Americas.
Nathan and Victoria Pearson came from Minnesota with their family to visit loved ones in Rockford and are glad they could swing by the Burpee on their way out of town.
I hadn't heard of it before until my sister-in-law told us about it, and we decided to stop by because Victoria really likes dinosaurs and fossils and things like that.
One fun fact that surprises people about the Ice Age is
Most all of the animals that are alive today were also alive during the Ice Age. Dire wolves lived alongside gray wolves, lived alongside coyotes.
Ryan Dewey works at Burpee Museum and says interactive experiences help visitors of all ages connect with science.
The best way for people to not only learn new information but retain it in their minds is if they're having fun. And the best way to have fun with something is just to be hands-on with it.
In Rockford, Miriam Niesmeyer, WIFR News.
The Burpee Museum hosts educational events like Holocene Holiday throughout the year. They also offer volunteer and internship opportunities for those interested in getting involved.